What is going on, traders? It's going to be a pretty short video by YouTube standards. It's going to be a short video. So we're going to talk about SPY, triple Qs, and then we're going to talk about semiconductors and where they could potentially go from here. Before we start, like, subscribe, comment your thoughts below. Let's get into the video. So right now we're looking at the SPY, and it was a pretty lackluster day. You didn't really get much action. You pretty much bounced within a range between 582 and 586, and crazy enough, those are your key levels. Your first key level when it comes to upside is 586. We saw that bulls tried to break us above 586 heading into close, but they just could not make it happen. Ultimately, bears ended up stepping in and we broke further down. Specifically, 586.6 is your key level. I cannot get it there, but you guys get the idea. So about 586.6, that's your dark pool level. Around that area, we saw that bulls try to step in and get us above that area, but bears ultimately said no, it's not going to happen. Try again another time. And so we ended up right back where we started. Now when it comes to downside, 582 is your key level. Okay, 582, guys. If you manage to get below 582 on the SPY, you are looking at a move towards 578. After that, you're looking at a move towards 576, 575, more or less. And then from there, chances are you're heading towards this gap fill between 570 and 565. The lowest we can go, at least for the short term, is about 565. Now when it comes to upside, like I said before, 586 is your key level, but after that, you are looking at a move towards 588, between 588, 587.5, somewhere around that range. And then from there, obviously, you're looking at your psych level at around 590. And then 590, 592, so on and so forth. You guys get the idea, all right? So that's what we're looking at when it comes to the SPY. And so the question is, do I think we're still going to see more downside? Well, we do have a 3-day weekend coming up. Memorial Day is Monday, I believe. And so I find it hard to believe that bulls are just going to hold the market up and not want to take profit heading into tomorrow. Now, I'm not saying we're going to crash and burn or anything, but I do expect some type of decent sell-off heading into tomorrow or sometime tomorrow, just off the basis of we have a 3-day weekend coming up. And so I do think the lowest we could potentially go is about 578. The lowest we could be looking at is about 575 on the SPY. And then chances are we close around this range. Now, if I'm wrong, right, and let's say maybe we get good news, maybe we get more good news heading into tomorrow, and let's say I'm wrong, then obviously 586 is your key level here. Now, if we look at quant data, we see that there's a lot of short put exposure heading into tomorrow. Your expiration here on the SPY is May 23rd. And as you guys can see, there's a lot of exposure at the 580 level, and then there's some decent exposure at the 575 level. And as you guys can see, bulls are just not really present towards the upside heading into tomorrow. So it looks like that we could potentially see a move towards 580. And what you want to do with this is pretty much treat these levels like magnets. So I do imagine that 580 is going to be somewhat of a magnet, and you're going to see the SPY pretty much start gravitating towards this level, if not lower, right? Especially if we get below 582. If we get below 582, then chances are there's a high chance we're heading towards 580. And so that's what we're looking at for the SPY. Another interesting thing about quant data here is the max pain heading into tomorrow. And so 586 was your max pain level. Now, for those of you who don't understand what max pain means, it simply means that if you have calls heading into tomorrow and the SPY, let's say you have calls on the SPY heading into tomorrow and your expiration is tomorrow, the chances of your contracts being in profit towards the upside are pretty much 0 to 0. Okay, so your contracts are going to end up being worthless. While as if the SPY is below 586 and let's say you have puts, then the chances of your contracts being in profit is much higher. So this is pretty much what max pain. Now obviously if you have like puts at 500 strike expiring tomorrow, then obviously you're not going to be in profit. Chances are your contracts are going to be worthless. But this is more so leaning towards the call side because we are below 586, and as long as we stay below 586, chances are that a lot of these call options towards the upside expiring tomorrow are going to expire worthless. So something I want to point out to you guys, just give you guys an idea on what max pain means, because someone asked me this in the Discord. So 586 obviously is your key level no matter how you look at it, all right, as far as upside goes. And so that's what we're looking at for the SPY. Next, we're going to obviously look at the triple Qs. 515 is your key level here on the triple Qs. I can't say it was looking like you were forming some type of double bottom, but ultimately it kind of got invalidated. I mean, me personally, I think this is invalidated. You did close below a little bit below 515, and then from here, I do imagine you're going to head towards 510. Lowest you could be looking at is about 508. If you manage to give up 508, chances are you're heading towards 503. After 503, you're looking at a 500, your psych level, and then from there, you get pretty illiquid to the downside, and you're looking at about the 490s. As far as upside goes, 522 goes without saying. 522 is the key level here. You want to see break above. You want to see the triple Qs break above. You manage to get above 522 and actually hold. We'll just say 523 to be safe. Chances are you're heading all the way up here to about 530s. Okay, if we're lowballing it, we'll say 525, but ultimately you're heading towards the 530s, and then I do imagine there will be some type of rejection from there, right? All right, I'm not saying this is going to happen. I'm just saying if it does happen, if we get above that key level of 522. But for now, you're below 515. You close below 515, so there's a good chance that you're going to head lower. You're looking at 513 and 510. 508 is the lowest, at least heading into tomorrow, that I'm looking at. All right, so that's what we're looking at for the triple Qs as far as upside and downside. All right, so interesting enough, in the Discord, we got an alert from our Discord bot showing us that institutions jumped into SMH puts, the semiconductor ETF SMH 220 strike with the expiration of May 30th. All right, so this is very interesting because NVIDIA earnings is, I believe, next Wednesday, May 28th, I believe. Yeah, so May 28th is NVIDIA earnings. So I'm not saying this is going to play out, right? I'm not guaranteeing this is going to play out. I'm just saying, could this be a sign of what's to come when it comes to NVIDIA earnings, right? And if we do look at, we'll just look at SMH first, and then we'll look at NVIDIA. And so if we do look at SMH, what I tell Discord members all the time when it comes to using these Discord bots is that you want to find reasons on why stocks like SMH will head to 220. Is there a valid reason for this stock to head to 220? And so if you look at the charts here, you will see that there's a pretty massive imbalance all the way at around pretty much between 520 to, not 5, 222 and 230. All right, so you have a solid reason, or you have somewhat of a decent reason on SMH dropping that low. Now, this was alerted when SMH was at 242, and now you're seeing SMH close at 240.8. So far those contracts are in profit, right? And so if we are going to head lower, which I imagine we are, just given where we closed or how we closed, and if you zoom in here, these guys right here, okay, these bulls right here, they're panicking, all right, because you're starting to get below them. Now, your key level here on SMH is 239. Imagine get below 239. You head towards, now SMH is not some massive mover or anything like that. It moves, but it's not like super volatile or anything. So you have a pretty tight range where you can head from 239 to 237, 235, so on and so forth. But ultimately, if we are looking at that play playing out, this alert, this 220 puts play out for SMH, we're looking at a move all the way towards this imbalance at around, the lowest we're looking at is about 223 to 22, more or less. All right, so that's what I'm looking at for SMH if we're considering that play playing out. All right, and I think it makes sense. All right, I do think it makes sense. If you zoom out, and this is something we talked about on NVIDIA, right? If you zoom out, you see that tons of bears are in this area for SMH, right? Right here, you have a lot of bears in this area. You have inside bar candle here, inside bearish bar candle here, whatever you want to call it, right? You have an inside bar here as well, and as you guys can see, like we saw on NVIDIA, you got up here, you hit these guys right here, and then you rolled over. So there's a lot of cocaine bears in this area. They're doped up, they're ready, they're locked in, they're waiting for any type of bad news. And as you guys can see right here, we rejected this area. So SMH does look like it could potentially see more downside, especially if you get below 239. If you get below 239, you're not looking too good, and you can see some pretty decent downside, especially given the fact that we are within the range of these bears right here. These are not bears, these are moose, these are not bulls, these are moose, these are angry Pomeranians. They're gnawing at your ankles, they're ready to go. Okay, so you definitely want to see 239 give up if you are interested in that play. All right, do your own due diligence, do your own research. Do not follow these plays blindly. Just like I'm telling you, I tell Discord members the same thing. Do not follow these plays blindly. Make sure it correlates with your bias, thesis, whatever you want to call it. All right, so Yeah, that's all I really have for SMH. Now, in regards to upside, it goes without saying 250. You want to see this thing get above 250, and then from there you're heading towards 255, and then from there you're looking at 260, and you just want to stop these guys up here out of their position. But until that happens, I don't really have much for SMH when it comes to upside, especially given what's happening with Nvidia. Nvidia is just boring. I mean, what do I really say here? Nvidia just keeps trading in this range. A Discord member asked me about this, and it's just like, I mean, what can I really say? You're just trading within this range. This 4 hour time frame. You just keep bouncing between about 236 and 230. So I don't know if Nvidia earnings is going to cause a breakout to the upside or even to the downside, but for now, I just don't see a reason to trade this thing unless you're like day trading it or scalping it, and you're just trading in this range. Every time it hits 236, it rejects, heads back down to 230, so on and so forth, and the cycle continues. So that's what I'm looking at for Nvidia. There's not really much to talk about now in regards to Nvidia earnings. What I will say is that there's a lot of imbalances towards the downside, and one thing I tell you guys all the time is that the market does not like imbalances. All right, so if Nvidia tanks prior to its earnings, let's say it heads to 117. 117 is a target I am looking at. I'm not saying this is going to happen for its earnings. I'm saying that this could potentially happen before its earnings. But let's say that those SMH puts are legit, right? Let's say those are legit. I imagine Nvidia is going to head down here. Okay, right about down here, and then from there, it's really tough to say. Okay, it's really, really tough to say. That's if we're talking about a bearish scenario for Nvidia. Now, if we're talking about a bullish scenario, I think it goes without saying you're looking at about 150. Okay, 150 for Nvidia, and then highest we're looking at is these guys all the way up here at around 153. Nvidia needs great news to stop these guys out of their position. Okay, I mean, we talk about this all the time. Every time we talk about Nvidia, we talk about these candles here. Every time you get within the range of these guys here, you roll over. Every time you get in the range of these guys here, you roll over. And now you are rolling over all over again. It's not a convincing rollover, I will say that much. But the fact that you're below these guys right here, so let me mark it for you guys. But the fact that you're below, you rejected these guys right here, this inside bar candle right here, okay, right here, as you guys can see, you're starting to roll over. Okay, now you haven't broken a key level, so let's not jump the gun and jump into puts and go crazy or anything just yet. But right now I'm looking at 120 puts for Nvidia. I am rolling those over into about, I want to say June 6th, but I am looking at 120 puts for Nvidia. I do think this thing wants to tank. If it doesn't tank prior to its earnings, and let's say we just don't tank for its earnings and it just keeps doing this, then I'll probably just close those positions. But that's what I'm looking at for Nvidia. I don't really see a reason to be bullish on Nvidia. And if we're talking about history and historical data, I mean, I would lean more bearish than anything because it happens over and over again. It's happened every single time. Every time we get within these guys' range, we roll over. So do what you want with this information, but I think the smartest thing you can do is just leave this thing alone. Okay, be smarter than me. Okay, that's my suggestion. Be smarter than me. The best thing you can do is just leave this thing alone until whatever happens, especially heading into a 3-day weekend. Okay, especially heading into 3-day weekend and then it's earnings. Now, one thing we do know heading into next week is that one, of course, we have Nvidia earnings, but two, historically the market is bullish on short weeks, right? And another thing we have coming up as well, 28th, 29th, 30th, is that we have the Tesla Robo Taxi event that's supposed to happen on June 1st. Now, I don't want you guys to, I don't want to marry, I'm gonna just talk about what I'm gonna do. I don't want to marry the idea that this robo taxi event is going to happen because it's known to be postponed all the time. So I would just say be careful with it. Be careful marrying Tesla to the upside. Let's actually look at Tesla real quick, and then that's all I'm going to go over. Crap, I gotta go over Bitcoin, of course. But when it comes to Tesla, just be careful with Tesla because it has a habit of doing that, right? You got this event coming up, and it'll get postponed. All right, so just be careful with Tesla. I mean, that's really all I can really say right now. Again, just like Nvidia, it's just trading within this range between 330 and 350. Like I said, as long as Tesla stays below 350, you open up the floodgates to 330, and we saw exactly that. All right, so just be careful with it. Be careful marrying the idea that this robo taxi event is going to happen. By all means, I do think it's a buy the rumor, sell the news type of event. So do what you want with that info, but just take profit when you can is what I would say when it comes to Tesla heading into that event. So last but not least, Bitcoin. So I told you guys Bitcoin is going to go ballistic. We made a whole video dedicated to this thing. I said if Bitcoin gets above 95K, this thing can go absolutely crazy. Right now, Bitcoin is at that 112K wall. If you go to the weekly time frame here, as you guys can see, we are hitting this trend and we're pretty much rejecting it. So I do think Bitcoin has a short-term top right now. I don't think it's going to head much higher from here. I could be wrong. I could be wrong, of course. But right now we're seeing Bitcoin just struggle to get above this area. So I do think if the market is going to sell off, I do think Bitcoin is done here. I mean, you got your rejection here, your rejection here, and so far we're rejecting here at around 112K. So Bitcoin hit all my short-term targets. Again, I still think this thing can head to 200K by the end of the year. It's just a matter of why, when, what causes it, so on and so forth. But for now, I think Bitcoin needs to cool off, and we'll have to wait and see what happens from there. So I don't have much for Bitcoin. People ask me all the time, am I investing into crypto? No, I am not. I'm done with crypto. I'm tired of these brokers getting hacked all the time. Cyber attacks happen all the time. People losing their crypto money to blockchains. It's stupid. In my opinion, it's stupid. Like, by all means, make your money, but I like my money safe, and I think crypto is just not the safest place to put your money in, right? Or at least these brokers, right? It's been like how many years, and we still haven't figured this thing out, and these brokers are still getting hacked. Coinbase is still getting hacked. Binance is still getting hacked. You got people saying they can't log into their accounts, and so like I'm not gonna deal with that. The best thing you can do, in my opinion, is trade crypto, and by using a actual trading platform or a forex platform. But other than that, I don't think investing into crypto is safe. I think if you're going to invest into crypto, you want to put minimums amount of money into it, but ultimately do what you want. Okay, so that's my thoughts on crypto. So that's why I don't really talk about crypto anymore. I used to love crypto, but ever since it joined, ever since it got its own ETF, it's been pretty boring, and it just every month you hear about this thing getting hacked, and I just don't think it's worth it, in my opinion. This is just my opinion. Again, make your money, guys. All right, so that's all I really have for this video. Be careful heading into tomorrow. We're heading into a 3-day weekend. Don't marry upside. Don't even marry downside. All right, just be careful. Next week, 4-day week. Nvidia earnings. You got the Tesla robo-taxi event. So we might be a little bullish heading into next week. We'll have to wait and see. That doesn't guarantee Nvidia earnings is going to be great, but if we're considering this play right here, just be careful. All right, that's all I have for this video. Until the next video, traders, have you a good one.